starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
Salam Rasulullah wa ba'd, in the name of Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and final messenger. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here. Family, I promised to get this sister back on after the first time we did her interview about her conversion. And mashallah, the sister has been doing a lot of amazing work in the community. She's been putting out work. She's been doing conferences and all kinds of podcasts and stuff like that. And we have her back, Sister Michelle Renee Davis, from everyone's favorite therapist. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sister.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How you doing? Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So I want to get right into the nitty gritty. I had seen a podcast that you were on recently with a panel. It was a panel of a bunch of sisters, right? And you guys really covered a lot of good topics. Really, it was a really amazing panel, and I was very appreciative and grateful for your work that you guys did, because you covered a lot of the things that were really taboo in the community, and you weren't really holding back. And one of the big things that I really wanted to get into today was, as the title says, this aversion that Black folks have to seeking therapy. It's like almost like a taboo in the Black community. It's unheard of, really, right? And the late, great Kevin Samuels, most of his female guests, when he had them on, he would ask them, do you have a therapist? Do you have a therapist? And we need some more of this, right? So I just want you to get some of your opinions about that and what you think the issue is, and go ahead and knock us out.
Absolutely. So I think that, and again, this is my personal opinion. However, being raised in the Black community, our number one issue is we want to act like nothing is wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this idea that we have to be perfect because, and I get it. Like certain parts I understand, because when you have the whole world against you, you have to at least have some type of, your life being in order and feel like you have to have it all together. However, what you don't understand is you keep perpetuating your trauma onto your kids, to the next generation, We are not meant, like us as African Americans, we are not meant to live how our counterparts tell us to live, as far as...
Thank you. Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Anyways, I love that statement. Go ahead.
Of this individualistic society. We are tribal. We are tribal. So,
yes.
Like a lot of times people are like, well, there wasn't always a thing as therapists. No, because we checked our own.
Yes.
Everybody knew everybody.
Yes. There's an African proverb. It says, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a child. And what you're saying there right now, it hits home, because we're operating individualistically. And even in Africa today, they don't operate like that. They operate together as a communal unit, right? And even the Prophet Muhammad, as I was telling you before, the Prophet Muhammad himself, right, sought comfort with his wife Khadija when the revelation came.
Yeah.
He sought comfort from her, and she comforted him. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that the thing that you said that really hit home too, and you actually covered this in the podcast, is that black folk have this idea that they don't need no help.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They're perfect and there's nothing wrong with them, and I don't understand where that well actually I can understand it a little bit, because we are so heavily traumatized and being told everything that we're done wrong, that it's kind of subliminally
Mm-hmm.
blocks us off from being told that we're doing wrong anymore. You
Mm-hmm.
get me? We don't
Because
want to be told that.
yeah, because the problem is we've been abused so much.
Mm,
It's hard to like. It's hard to accept that our life is jacked up because like, or I already have enough pressure on me. I can't take one more.
more, yes, yes, absolutely,
And so
yeah,
what we do is we decide to blame the whole world, not understanding that we are continuing to perpetuate our own pain by
exactly,
the lifestyles that we continue to live. And so it's important to try to change our lifestyles by seeking help. Because in this day and time, we're no longer communal. So
yes,
you can't go to your elders. You
mm,
can't go to somebody trusted because they're in
mm,
the same boat as you. And I
mm,
think especially like the new generation, oh, I swear by my Lord, I've never seen a bunch of people who I told my sister like one time, so she's like 24 or something like that. And I told her, I said, you know, you don't have to make every mistake in a book, right? I
mm,
already did it.
mm,
You can
mm,
learn from it. She like,
exactly.
she like, no, I feel like I gotta make some mistakes on my own.
Like why?
Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Hmm.
And it's like this idea that they know everything
Hmm.
when they know nothing.
Nothing. Hmm. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she has a chapter in her book. It's called the ISIS paper, where she's giving a rundown, because she herself is a psychiatrist, right?
Mhm.
So she's giving a rundown of some of the typical interactions that she has with these youth, right?
Mhm.
Right, at her time, right? And this is way back in the 70s, right?
Mhm.
And she was saying they're basically speaking like parrots at that time, like I don't need no help and blah 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 blah, and I can raise my child by myself, and all this stuff, right? And the boys and stuff like that. She's giving her a breakdown between the boys and the girls and whatnot. And this cycle is being continued generation after generation after generation, right? And there comes a point where eventually you're going to have to look at your situation and look at it objectively and see where your kinks are, so you can improve on the situation. The issue is that uh, there's, as we mentioned before, there's a psychological quirk with black people, that they do not like to be told that they're doing something wrong. Right? They get defensive. Right? They instantly get defensive. Go ahead.
It's because I think that it's partially because again, children now are raising themselves
Yes.
because
That's one of the things she said. That, well, I swear, I lie. She said that in her book. She said that the children that are coming were raised by mothers who are children themselves, and they're coming and as children with children going to raise other children, right? And she's
with
saying it's
with
yeah,
no
yeah. She said this in her book, the ISIS papers. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go.
yes, with no husband. and
Yes.
and the thing what people don't understand, right?
Mm,
Because when I hear women say this, I'm like,
mm,
it's actually a false narrative that we have in our community,
mm.
and men and women need to own that it's a lie.
Yes.
Women cannot raise children by
The
themselves.
cells. Yes. Yes.
And this is statistics. So
Mm-hmm.
just so I don't feel like going into the statistical analysis of it, but let's just think about this.
Mm.
Walk into a prison, Majority of them
Mm.
are raised in a single home,
Yes,
correct?
this is a fact. This is a fact. Yes,
Single home by who?
by the mothers,
By mothers.
and
So if
that's
we were so great
mm,
at raising children by
mm,
ourselves,
mm.
why are the prisons populated with people who come from single mothers?
Mothers.
And I'm
Yes,
not talking about just Black people because we also understand the other social pressures that we have with mass incarceration, and
yes,
I
yes.
get that. Taking out that factor is
Mm.
across the
That's the
board.
board. Yes, it's every other people group. They have the when you have crime, it can be traced back to broken families,
Mhm.
right? When you have crime rates, right? So yeah, go ahead, sis.
But
Hmm.
the opposite is not true.
Yes, for the men,
Men
that's right.
who
Yes.
raise children in a
Hmm.
single parent home
Hmm.
has the outcomes the same as people who are married.
That is correct. That is correct. And there are some caveats with that when it comes to the Black community as well, right? Because with the, as you know, with our situation, because we have this generational problem now, and we have this stigma attached to actually seeking help, seeking therapy. We are coming now almost like on the fifth generation of this issue, and we are seeing the men like emasculated on a scale never seen before in human history.
Mhm.
Right? We're seeing uh, even the normalization of the effeminizing of the Black man. Right?
Mhm.
Even in sports, and it's very open and public. I have never seen an Asian person of importance send their kids out in a dress and like with their boys in a dress and fingernails and what. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen an Asian, even our white counterparts. I've never seen on a public scale them setting their male children out in dresses and makeup. But in 2023, we have our own alleged athletes such as Dwayne Wade,
Mhm.
right, and his son. As I Wade now, we have Magic Johnson and his son, right? We have basketball players coming out in dresses like what's his name? Is it Russell? I can't remember. Russell Westbrook
Mhm.
wearing a dress. We have Usher recently in a dress. And there are many examples that we have in the public eye
Mhm.
of our figures, you know, being emasculated, publicly emasculated, right? Where no other people group is going through that,
Mhm.
right? So now that's the other side of this coin now, because now we are the first kind of group that has had this multi generational experiment done where the matriarch is running things, and these are the results. So go ahead. I know I talked a little. I said a
No,
mouthful. But
no,
go
you're fine.
ahead.
Because what people don't understand, and I
Mm,
say this time and time again,
mm,
when you have gender dysphoria, right?
mm,
Because that's what it is.
mm.
It's based on trauma.
Yeah,
I,
yes, yes,
I
yes,
am,
yes.
and this is by all means, I'm not
Mm,
talking about people who have medical conditions who are
mm.
actually, um, not about to say,
Transgendered.
no, not transgender, who, I want to use the technical term for when they have both parts. I forgot because I don't like,
Hermaphrodite? I don't know if
yeah,
that's a
but
tech.
I don't
Hermaphrodite?
like that. It's something like
Transsexual?
no, 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 they're not transsexual. They have both parts. I'm not
Yeah,
talking about people who literally have a medical condition where they're trying to fix their genitalias to be normal.
normal. Yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I'm not talking about people. I'm
yeah.
talking about those who have, there's nothing wrong
Hmm.
with their genitalia, is nothing wrong with their reproductive system,
Hmm.
and they decide to be something else. A lot
Hmm.
of times
Hmm.
is due to trauma.
Hmm.
And I can't tell, like, I've had sessions with people who practice a homosexual lifestyle, and some of the
Hmm.
questions wound up being, let's talk about the first man that broke your heart.
Hmm.
your critical dad.
Mm,
And what they don't get is they be like, well, why do I like having sex with the same sex?
mm,
Well, first and foremost, when things are happening to your body is going to respond regardless. If
mm,
you close your eyes, it's going to respond.
mm,
Let's take that out of the equation. But
mm,
what you really want is to be comforted and loved by a man how your father should have loved you.
yep, yep. There were actually articles written about this very same thing that you were saying, scientific articles in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, as far as I'm concerned. Dr. Omar Johnson, he used to quote them all the time, actually, right? And then, of course, during the 90s and stuff like that, all that kind of changed because the focus kind of shifted towards what we're seeing right now, right? So they kind of pulled out the science with regards to that. But what you're saying is absolutely true. And that's another thing that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing mentioned as well,
Mm.
right? And she mentioned that in the 70s, right? The trauma, particularly with the black boys and the emasculation of black boys and trying to make them into homosexuals and bisexuals and things like this, like force them into that lifestyle, right? Way back and now look at like it's like prophecy, it's happening like prophecy. You get
Because
me?
what people
Mm,
don't understand, and I hope
mm,
that if anybody don't get anything from this, is
mm.
they are selling us trauma and we are buying it.
Yes.
Trauma is a money maker.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It makes money. If I can say, oh, you're a boy
Mm,
and you want to be a little girl, absolutely. Because you know what
mm,
you're going to try to do? You're going to try so hard. You're going to get all the plastic surgeries. You're going to get all
mm.
the makeup, all the dresses, all the underwears to fit into this narrative to be something that you are
You're
not.
not. Yes.
And it's going to cost you a lot of money, and they are okay with it.
Yes. Of course. Of course.
And then
There's
the trauma from if you decide that
mm,
it's really not what you want,
mm.
and all the trauma that comes with reversing everything that you've done.
Yes, yes, it is a lifetime of medical expenses. Once you start, you can't stop. Once you go down that road, it's impossible to stop. Especially when you start modifying your genitalia,
Mm.
right? Because now you're talking about a lifetime of a medical work, right? So, and black folk, like the way that I see other groups, I see black folk because we've had this we see like we all have the homosexuals and bisexuals in our family. It's kind of normal for us, right? Because we've been seeing it for so long, right?
Mhm.
Right. But now it's getting to the point where it is like epidemic now. It's like absolute epidemic, right? So and nobody's looking at it as a problem. They're looking at it as let it kind of like play out, right? So we're letting our own destruction play out. You get me? Instead of dealing with
Well,
it's like
we're sexualizing our children.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Even without that, I saw like some of the stuff that you're seeing on social media is abhorrent. Like with black women and the children. I remember. I think last time I talked to you about this, right, when we were on, and I saw a sister. She's a black woman on my Facebook, and she had her children, and like young children, right? They're young, okay? They're like pre-teens, pre-pubescent,
Mm.
and they were singing a very raunchy Cardi B song, right? Like all the words, lyrics, and she's recording it like it's funny. And I was appalled, right? The other day, I saw a young a mother twerking on an infant,
Mhm.
twerking, right? And then you have the images that we have, the images of, like, for example, who are the new ones now? We have Sukiyana. I don't know if you know who Sukiyana is,
Yeah.
right? You have Sexy Red and all this. Yeah, these are the images that are being um, pushed on black women now, right? So embrace your dysfunction, embrace your mental illness and just run with it. This is what we get, right? The black men, what do we get? We get trap rappers, right?
Mhm.
We get the trap rap, and just kill another black man for showing up, and it's devilish music, right? And so we are now being peddled trauma At the same time, we are being prevented from the therapy that will heal us from a trauma at the same time.
But you know what's always interesting though is that,
Mhm.
and I think it's funny because we look to our counterparts for answers, right? And guess what they're doing?
Right.
They
What?
therapy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
They are in therapy.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And there is another portion that people don't talk about, how the medical, particularly in the States, more so in the States, because over here in Canada, it's more socialized, right? But particularly in the States, how Black folk are actually, you know, disincentivized from going to therapists because the insurance companies will is intentionally block them from seeking therapy. Right? Is that a thing?
Absolutely. So
Yes.
they make getting therapy so complicated. So
Mm,
just to give you like an idea of stuff that they do. So I decided I'm like I'm gonna get panel with the insurance so people because it can be affordable. People can blah 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 yada yada
mm,
yada.
mm,
They'll do things like I'm contracted with Independence Blue Cross Blue Shield, but for mental health they don't pay for mental health. You got to figure
mm,
that you got to go to another insurance company to get the pay.
mm, mm, mm,
And so like trying to figure that all out.
mm,
Another thing that they'll do sometimes is they'll have it where they like, oh, you have to like it's just so many hoops with insurance.
mm,
Oh, you built the wrong code, denied.
mm,
Oh, you did this, denied.
mm,
And it becomes you're fighting with the insurance companies to pay out.
mm.
Once
Yes.
you get it, it's kind of easy, but when you first starting out, because again, you got to remember we're communal.
Mm,
It's hard to do stuff without someone else help, right? So I
mm,
started this my practice by myself. So it's a
mm,
lot of things that I had to learn on the way.
mm, mm,
No one wanted to help me.
mm.
No one said anything. Like I,
And
I asked them like, well, how do they be like? Oh, I don't know. They'll give me. I've had insurance company give me wrong information. Or that person
wow.
they're not covered right now. And I was just like, I'm gonna just bill it anyway. Got paid.
Mm,
Do things like that that makes it
mm,
really difficult to even and that's why I understand why a lot of therapists don't take insurance.
mm,
What they don't tell you for anybody who want to go use their insurance is you can actually pay for the insurance. I mean, you could pay for the session, tell that therapist to give you a super bill, and the
mm,
super bill must have obviously your name, your date of birth, your
mm,
address, and your diagnostic code, and how much the session costs, and you can be reimbursed according to your plan.
mm, mm,
They don't tell you that either.
mm.
So you can be reimbursed for it. It takes a little minute to get reimbursed, but you do get reimbursed.
This is important information because, especially with Black folk, a lot of people. I mean, this is a whole different kind of. But I just want to touch on it briefly. The only reason why the U.S. charges for medical anything, particularly the U.S., because every other modern Western country, their health care is socialized. It's only U.S. where it continues to be privatized, and exclusive only reason why it's like that is because of Black people.
Yep. It came out. I was watching this video where it came out that the reason why it's not socialized because what they wanted to do was kill us off, and they knew if they allow
Mm,
us to have access to medical care, that we
mm,
would continue to thrive. So they wanted to block our ability
mm.
to have access to
Just to medical care. That
medical.
is true. You got to remember the eugenicist movement came out of the United States. Many of your high level politicians and judges and lawmakers, they were eugenicists. They were eugenicists. And they see the eugenicists as heroes, like Margaret Sanger, okay, like K.D. Lang. These are eugenicists. So they carry those systems out and they weaponize them against black folk. So we as black people, not only do we have to take, you know, our health seriously, but we absolutely must take our mental health seriously, because the without a good mental health,
Mhm.
nothing else really matters. Really, right?
It
Everything else will deteriorate 100%. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah. So what people don't understand too, it's a really, really good book called The Body Keeps the Score. Um,
Mm,
if anybody like, if you send me an email at info@wfmmh.com, I can send you the book
mm,
PDF, you know,
mm,
because it's free as me.
hmm.
But
What's the email there, sis?
info
Mm-hmm.
at wfmmh.com, and I'll send them the
Info,
PDF. Yeah.
info at WSMH
No, WF as in Frank.
F
Mary, Mary, Harry.
M
Mary.
WFMM and
Hmm.
then H.
Yep.
Okay. .com.
.com. Yep. That stands for Where Faith Meets Mental Health.
Okay.
So what the book goes on to explain is how our it's called The Body Keeps the Score, obviously. And so basically, like when you have trauma in your history, your body remembers it.
Mm,
We start to
mm,
operate in our history. And that's why, like, I always tell people you have to do introspection. Introspection is very, very important because
mm.
sometimes I'll ask people, I say, why did you do that? And they'll be like, I
They
don't
don't.
know.
They don't know. Yeah.
They'll be like, that's just who I am. Why? We behavior is behavior is done based on past experiences. We do not do nothing. We don't do things for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a false narrative. Like that's just who I am. Who you are is a composite of biological, social, and then what you decide to add the layer of interpretation of what your surroundings are.
Mm.
Two people can have the same experience and develop different beliefs about what happened, right? So I always like to give examples. Back when I was getting my associate's degree, we had a group class,
Mm.
and this they was the one of the girls was talking about violence on the campus. So one of the girls was like, "What, I got to bring my gun to school?" That was that. The
Mm.
next week we come in, they're gone. The teacher's saying how one of the girls felt threatened. She felt physically threatened by the other girl.
Mm.
And majority of the people were like, we thought it was inappropriate, but it wasn't that deep.
It wasn't that deep. Yeah. Yeah.
And one guy was like, somebody said they was gonna bring a gun to school. We
Mm.
all was sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But what he decided to filter out, or what we decided to filter, is based on our experience. So if you grow up in a community where guns is the norm,
Mm.
hearing the word gun is not a big deal.
Yeah. You don't take it like a big deal. Yeah.
Don't take it like a big deal. But if
Mm.
you have someone like the other woman who felt like it was a personal threat, if you grew up in a household where there was a lot of domestic violence,
Mm.
father beating on the mom or the mom beating on the father, you're
Mm.
going to take things more personally because that's been your experience.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, I like to say this, when they're communicating, this is why they don't communicate with each other well.
Because their experiences subconsciously comes back, right, and they don't realize it.
Yep. You're
You get
filtering
me?
what's happening right now through your past experience.
Mm. Yes, and Black folk definitely have a lot of past experiences. There's a doctor. She has this theory, and she did lectures about it, and it got garnered quite a bit of traction up until this day, right? Where she says that Black folk, they suffer from post traumatic slave syndrome, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because they don't understand is also, well, but this is the thing. Okay, so
Mm.
why this is not a huge topic that's talked about, the transgenerational of trauma, right? Because first of all, trauma changes your DNA. So when things
Yes.
happen to you and you wind up having a baby, that baby is taking on whatever genetic makeup that was changed over time from generation to generation. And look at it like this. When you go, like, why do you think different nationalities and things like that exist?
Mm.
Because When you move to different climates, it changes your DNA. When you go through different traumas, it changes your DNA
mm,
to help you survive.
mm.
But if you no longer need it, it's obsolete.
Yes.
And then it comes out as behavioral problems.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But if we really started talking about trans generational trauma, and slavery and things like that, and really accepting that, because this is why a lot of white people do not accept that narrative. They're like, oh, that happened back then, because then they will have to accept
Except
that
that
they are violent.
they're violent, and then maybe there's a correlation between the number of psychopaths and sociopaths coming out of the white community,
Yeah.
because they have the largest number of psychopaths and sociopaths out of any other community by far. It's not even close. And so you see, even when you look at serial killers, it's almost an exclusively white crime, right? It's almost exclusively white, right? So they would have to face that. They have to look that in the eye and say, well, maybe maybe if they're being traumatized because of what we did, maybe there's something wrong with us. Maybe we got some screws loose, and this is why we're acting the way that we act. They have to look at that. They have to face that head on, right?
But
Instead of trying to brush it under the.
I can't address that, because guess what? They have they have successfully said white people are individuals, black
Mm,
people are a group.
mm, mm,
So when
mm.
one black person do something, that's just how we all are.
Yeah,
When they do something, oh my God, that's horrifying that he did
he
that.
did it exactly, exactly. Exactly. Like we don't see like the vast majority of school shooters and people going postal and all the kind of stuff. Like we don't see that the majority of them just happen to be white folk, right? We can't see that, right? But they're individuals, right?
But we can't see that, right? Because of media, right? Because media plays a huge role in what we see and what we view. So when you turn on the news, which is I tell people you should really just turn off the news for real,
Yeah,
for real.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
people want to be like, oh, I want to be informed. That's not being informed.
Not 2023 anyways.
That's
No,
not.
yeah, it's different now. It's way different now. Yeah, but continue. Go ahead.
All you're gonna see is
Mm-hmm.
black people, black people, black people, black people,
Mm-hmm.
all of this trauma. That's what you're gonna see.
Mm-hmm.
As
Right.
if people don't all commit crime at the same rate when you are impoverished.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. They don't say that black people are committing crime because the forced poverty, right? They're not saying that black people are traumatized because the forced trauma on them. They're saying that black people are committing these crimes and acting like this way simply because they're black, because they exist as black folk.
Mm.
That's what they say, right? So, and they make sciences about this. Well, but we digress. We want to help our people, all right?
Oh yeah,
So,
but knowledge is power. Because
yeah,
one
yeah.
of the things that I find too, that I always tell people, you have to know where you are to know where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if you don't figure that out, you're going to literally go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yes.
a lot of things, our foundation needs to change about how we view the world,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all like macro, micro, and then it all to just always go down to the individual person, and then it's you having to constantly work towards changing your mindset. So like
Yes.
introspection is very, very important, but also looking at the world of why you are like this,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
you can start tweaking stuff,
Mm-hmm.
tweaking it until you come to a place where you're healthy
Mm-hmm.
and whole. And I use that very relative, because healing is a journey. It's not an event.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to address the men, for the particularly black men, because of course, I think that, in my opinion, I'm not sure. You might know better than me, but I see black men more hesitant to seek therapy than black women. I don't know if this is true or not. You might have more information about that.
Yes, majority of my caseload is women. Literally
Mm,
this upcoming week. Okay,
mm,
actually, this upcoming week, I don't have any black men
mm,
coming up at all.
mm,
I've seen, I could probably count on one hand being in practice for almost 2 years of seeing black men.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time when I see black men, it's because they are so down that they're trying to crawl out of the hole.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
using drugs.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and other than that, no, I I don't. And then it's black women.
Mm-hmm.
But majority of my caseload is white women.
Oh wow. Wow. Wow.
And
You see, black
the
folks.
thing is, let me tell y'all a secret.
Mm,
It's a lot of white women when they're seeking therapists, they want black women.
wow. Wow. That's wow. They're actually seeking black therapists. Wow. That's deep. That is deep. And of course, I'm just to veer off topic a little bit. When I'm hearing that, I think because there might be a spiritual aspect to that, right? Because black folk, because we've been through so much, we can look into people's souls, so to speak. We have this ability. You know what I mean? It's very rare to find black folk that are not spiritual, even from
Hmm.
way back. Our grandfathers, our great grandfathers, right? They believe in God, like hardcore, right? And even if they're not Christian, they believe in something. Right, and we're just a spiritual type people, but I don't know if that's true. This is bro science.
I I think I think it's because they want our power.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It would, I don't believe in the feminist movement. I'm not
yeah,
a feminist at all. Um,
mm-hmm,
because as black women,
mm-hmm,
before this new age crap started happening,
yeah, yeah,
we did not have problems with our men.
yes,
They did.
mm-hmm, yes. Yes, that is at least a 200-year-old issue. When white women started getting ownership of slaves and property, that's when they started having fights with their men, right? Because they would get married, and whenever a white woman got married to a man, she and her things belonged to her husband.
Mhm.
You get it?
Mhm.
And because this new world was happening in the West, right? White women started fighting the white man in what's known as chancery courts to own their slaves and their land. They didn't want, when they divorced, that the man would take everything. You get what I mean? That's pretty much how the feminist movement started. And then, of course, we know in the 40s, late 40s, it shifted into a um, a type of women's rights movement because women were working because their men were off fighting in World War II, right? And so the bankers, they wanted to tax double the society, and then they were the ones who pushed the feminist movement as we know it today. And feminism for black women is not feminism for white women. It's a different can of worms altogether. It's two different things,
Yeah.
right?
And again, they selling us Triumph and we buying it. So why do you think when you get PHA, which is a government assistance program housing, why you can't have a man there? You
Yeah.
can have all these people.
Hmm.
Lit- But as soon as you get somebody else that has an income, you no longer qualify. And the way
Yes.
you qualify is so low
Mm.
that honestly, you're gonna. What people don't realize that if you continue to work, you're still gonna just be in the same boat you in now.
Yes. Yes. That's right, right. So they monetize the breaking up of the black family is actually monetized and incentivized by the government, right? And black folk need to recognize that. So if your families have been broken for generations, you don't think that you're going to have some mental problems, which is brings me back to what we were initially talking about: black men, right? Having this aversion to seeking mental health counseling, and they definitely need it. We have men that absolutely cannot control their emotions whatsoever. And they argue like their grandmamas and their mamas and their aunts, and they can't help themselves. They get emotional and riled up. But to have that type of energy inside of a man is very dangerous because
It
he's
really
a
is.
man.
It is.
He's not a woman,
An
right?
emotional man is a dangerous man
Is a dangerous man. Yes,
because
it's not.
you're
It's
prone
not
to
safe.
more violence.
Exactly.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing because you got to have it to be able to protect your family. But you're
Yes.
more prone to violence when.
Yes.
And I always I'm glad that we're on the topic of emotions, right?
Mm-mm.
Because I want to make this crystal clear.
Mm-mm.
Emotions are not reality.
Mm-mm.
Just because you feel something
Mm-mm.
doesn't mean that it is true.
Mm-mm.
And so, like, what I used to do in therapy when somebody like, I feel like she was blah 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 blah. I'm like, I feel like you don't like me. They were like, I'm like, I feel like you don't like me. They were like, but I do like you. I said, I feel like that. So
Yeah.
that means you don't like me.
Mm-mm.
Like, I get what you're saying.
Mm-mm.
Feelings are not reality.
Mm-mm.
Feelings is information.
Yes.
It
Yes.
tells
Yes.
you that you
Yes. So you hit
care
the nail
about
right on the head. Yes.
it tells you that
Yes.
you care about something and that
Mm-hmm.
this warrants further investigation or communication, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that it is real.
Yes. Yes. Yes, and many a black men were killed because of another emotional black man, right? So, um, with there's a doctor named Tommy Curry. Are you familiar with him, Dr. Tommy Curry? Right. So he's the one who founded what is known as black male studies, right? And he stumbled upon. He just found this by accident, totally by fluke. Okay,
Okay.
he was basically writing a research paper on what you call it, being abused as a black male, right?
Mhm.
Right. So he just put out like the call for people to come with their stories.
Mhm.
What ended up happening was he received way more stories than he could handle, and he was like, wait a second, something's going on here. This is bigger than I thought it was. And
Mhm.
then he realized, because we know the stories about black women being abused is very common, right?
Mhm.
Right. And it's something that's very, you could say, suppressed, I guess, in the black community, but
Mhm.
it's common. Black women getting abused is common. It's coming out almost everywhere now, in Jamaica, in the States, and we're seeing the numbers, and it's astonishing, right? But he found out that the numbers for black males being abused was astonishing as well. Like, it was off through the
Mhm.
charts, right? So then he started studying this, right? And then he started realizing that there's a correlation between the sexual abuse that black males have gone through and the over sexualization in the black community,
Mhm.
right? They're both connected, right?
Sure.
Right. So, and at the same time, there's a stigma for black males to actually seek the help that they can get to overcome this, right?
Mhm.
And and these type of things, as you know, it leads to behaviors which are not normal, like
Yeah.
promiscuity or homosexuality or things of this nature,
Mhm.
right? But there needs to be a way to convince black male to seek therapy. We have a lot of issues in the black community,
Mhm.
right? We have, as you mentioned, drug abuse. We have broken families, and we have this issue, right?
Yeah.
So how do we encourage black males to seek therapy?
So I think that one, what we need to do, right, is take away, well, obviously destigmatize therapy, but also take away the narrative of what things mean when they happen to you. Like, 'cause I've heard people say, like, I hear of like a black male getting abused, and I've heard people say, well, why you ain't fight back? Cause he was 5.
Yep. Yep.
Like, of course he couldn't protect himself. The people that were supposed to protect you didn't,
Did it? Yes. Yep.
which was the person that was the perpetrator.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, I've hear people, or another huge thing, which I've sat down with like guys and counseled them about, is that they're like, I don't know if I'm gay because I like it or if because I was abused.
Mm,
Because
yep.
again, they don't understand that
Mm,
when things happen to your body, it's going to respond.
mm-hmm.
Your attraction
Mm,
is what is your sexuality.
mm,
Not that that happened and it felt good. It's supposed to. It's sex, like they did things to your body that you weren't ready for.
Yep. Hmm.
And
Yep.
no one told you. And then that's another thing too. We don't talk to our kids like this is inappropriate. People shouldn't do this to you.
And there's another dimension to that, is that many of the parents have gone through the same thing, and they themselves don't know that it's not appropriate. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
they think it's normal, right? Like we're talking about. Now we're getting to see it more through social media. What people doing, thinking that it's normal behavior, but it's absolutely abhorrent, and they're not seeing it because they think it's normal. You get it?
Hmm.
Like teaching your kids like the most raunchiest songs, or twerking on a adolescent, not an adolescent, like a child, a toddler. You're twerking on a toddler. You know, a grown woman twerking on a toddler. Like, what are you teaching this child, right? And not to mention that we're we're seeing our behavior, our backwards behavior, as normal behavior. It normalized, as Sister Tika said in the chat, and it shouldn't be normalized, right?
Correct.
Right. So, what tips would you give for people to encourage other people and themselves to seek therapy?
Yeah. So one of the things I always say is introspection, right? So we
Mm,
talked about that earlier. Wouldn't you just want to know what
mm,
you really, really believe and think? Because, like,
mm,
I don't think people realize that you have no, like, just ask yourself, like, do I even know what my values are?
mm.
Some people can't even tell you that. They'll say, like, what's your values? I'm Muslim. Well, what does that mean? Well, whatever the Quran and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say. Well, what is that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
People really, they have no idea
Mm,
who they are. Isn't
mm.
it a little bit curious to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
Mm-hmm.
are you? What do
Mm-hmm.
you really believe? What do you really think? What do you really want out of life? Is that
Mm-hmm.
because, and you know what? And I'm glad that because I told you I got ADD bad, so just fine with you. Sometimes things click into my head. I don't know what has happened with us, but you know how like when you're a kid and you first start walking, everybody like, oh my god, he's walking, or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's so cold in the power, and everybody's excited, right? Then you
Yeah.
get older and you say, I want to start my own business. You can't do that.
Mm.
Told you,
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
with you. Are you stupid?
Mm.
It's like this. I don't know what age that is, but
Mm.
it's just like this switch that
Yeah.
happens
Just
where we're so encouraging,
mm.
and then we just start destroying.
trying each other. Yep. Mm-hmm. And that comes with that individualism as well, right? That type of, because there is a study done. I can't remember the name of the doctor, where he's a professor at Harvard University. I believe it's Harvard, either Harvard, it's an Ivy League school, Harvard, Yale, something like this. He's a legit professor,
Mm.
and he has students, a group of Asian students and a group of Black students, right? And they all got into the school the same way. They got all the credentials, but he noticed that the Asian students were excelling and the Black students were failing, right? And he's like, well, what's going on here? Like, the they deserve, all of them deserve to be here. So he went and he studied what the Asian students were doing and what the Black students were doing. You know what he found?
Mm.
He found that the Asian students, all of them, okay, were working together. They were studying together as a group.
Mhm.
And the Black students
That's how I
were
got through college.
studying individually. You know,
That's how I got through college. I wouldn't
He's-
have made it without
yeah,
a group
another
of
group.
friends.
Yes, yes. Right. But why were the Black students thinking that all nighters after all nighters after all nighters will get to pass the classes instead of doing the group, working with a group? Why were they thinking that? Because that culture of individuality, and we pass that on in everything. So when it is, and it's including, I want to start a business, right? I want to start a business. When you're starting a business is generally not done in an individual manner. It requires a group. You
Yeah.
need a group of people on the same page to help you start a business, right? Unless you already have the money to start your own business, then it's generally done as a group, and that's why you have three levels of business. You have the sole proprietorship, you have the partnership, and you have the corporations. Which ones make the most money? Corporations. And are they individuals or groups? Right? The groups are the biggest group, and then the partnerships, which are another group of people, and the ones that make the least are the sole proprietorships, even though they're owners of the group, right?
You can't do everything.
Yeah.
So I have my own practice. I'm the sole proprietor, and
Mm,
unfortunately, especially when I first started off,
mm,
I was a therapist. I'm the
mm.
CEO, so I'm doing all the paperwork. I'm
Yeah,
the
yeah.
secretary. I'm the
Mm,
biller. I'm
mm,
everything. So you're
yeah.
splitting yourself so many ways. So
Right. Mm,
hopefully, as I grow, I can hire more people. But that was a struggle, and hiring good help
yeah.
is a struggle too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, right. So we that's individualistic
Mhm.
culture. It carries into the way that we do things, and we need to break out of that. And one of the ways to break out of it is actual therapy,
Right.
right?
Because what people don't get is when you go through something, it's a
Mm,
belief system. So
mm,
like let's just say for example, um anybody who knows me know like I had sexual abuse in my history, right?
mm,
So what it does is it builds a foundation, and
mm,
that's what people don't get. So it built a foundation of I felt worthless.
mm,
I felt like I had to protect myself because nobody else would.
mm,
Um, what's wrong with me that people want to do these things to me?
mm,
But then it builds a foundation of what I think about other people.
mm,
Men are going to take advantage of me. Men
mm,
only want me for my body.
mm,
Men are going to, they're deceitful and all they're going to do is try to get what they want. It builds a foundation and then it goes into your view of the world. The world is dangerous. People are
mm,
out to get me. And then it goes into how you view God. I can't trust God. You may not say it.
mm.
I
But
swear
you're
by my mother,
internalizing it.
but you internalize it because it's your core belief systems. And those are things that you don't think about every day. You just operate in it. And that's
Yeah,
why
it's in your
people,
subconscious.
you'll see people doing stuff and you're like, just trust the law. They're like, I do. No, you said it
Yeah,
out your mouth, but your behavior is not lining up with trusting in the law.
and I'm glad you said that too, because there's this what you said about just trust Allah is rampant in the black community. And what is meant by just trust Allah is ignore all your issues and pretend that they're not happening, and Allah from the sky is going to come and fix it. Right? Like this we got to stop practicing religion. Like that's not how religion is supposed to be practiced at all, right? That is backwards, right?
That's called a religious abuse.
Yes, yes, right. And
That
we've been religiously abused for the better part of 400 years. Solid with that Christianity stuff. They're giving us the slave Bible, all kind of stuff, telling us love our slave masters. That's where that stuff comes from, right? That stuff we learned that as Christians. Don't worry. A better day, a change gonna come, and even in the way that we speak, a change gonna come, yeah, and change never comes, right? Because we're just waiting, 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 right? Right? We're never proactive in our own destiny,
yeah,
right? Right. Whereas trusting in Allah necessitates actual work.
yeah.
It's not just believing that Allah from the sky is going to come and all of a sudden, boom, Bismillah, boom, everything is going to. No, that's not how it works. It requires, boots on the ground and putting in actual effort to make the changes, right? Don't use trust for Allah to, basically absolve yourself
Hmm.
from any responsibility from fixing your mental state, right? That's not what trust in Allah means.
Yeah.
The Prophet ﷺ also said, tie your camel. You have to tie your camel. Trust in Allah, but tie your camel,
So
right?
being in Islam is about balance. So just
Yeah.
to help people out, like what that actually looks like, right? If you
Mm.
said, Allah, I want $1 million, you're not going to go and hop back in bed.
Yeah.
because you know $1 million is not going to come.
And then that's gonna come from the sky.
You
No
gotta,
way.
you gotta go out and go to work, and you gotta do
Mm-hmm.
what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
What it means by trusting Allah is that
Mm.
you go out and work, you come home, you say Bismillah, and the outcome is from Allah.
That's right. That's right.
But you put in the work.
You put in the work. You put in the work.
But what I mean on the other end is what people do is I'll say trust Allah because they'll do all this work and then they still having all this anxiety. And I'm saying trust Allah and let
Mm.
that anxiety go. You did the work.
Mm.
Now the outcome is from Allah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have no control over outcomes
Yes.
at all.
And the good thing about doing the work, Sister Michelle, is that even if you don't achieve the outcome that you wanted, just the actual action itself is going to be rewarding for you, right? Because the actual action is also a type of therapy, but you have to do the action. You have to do the action. You can't just like do nothing, right? Right. 1 second. May Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold, Sister Tika. Ayakum Allah. I've seen me in so much of what's being talked about. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Ayakum Allah. All right. So she says, however, I have also had the opportunity to go to therapy. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And learned a lot about myself and continue learning. Yes, yes. This is the stuff that Black folks need to hear, right? We need to hear this type of stuff. You know what I mean? We need to hear other Black men and Black women going to therapy and sharing their stories because other people group they have their outlets for their mental health. We are the only ones that embrace our mental dysfunction and publicize it through our entertainment. You get it? No other people group does this, right? You were talking about, the sexual abuse and men wanting you for your bodies. We are the only group that express joy in our men just wanting us simply for our bodies, simply because of that. And we have artists pushing that. Okay.
I do want to answer her question about how do we get people to ask those hard saying questions so they can start to heal. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, what we need to start doing is being honest with each other and holding each other accountable,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, like with my friend,
There is an obstacle to that, Sister uh, Michelle, right? And we understand our people very well. That our people do not like to be told about about their parts. So, is there a method that we can tell our people about their parts where they will be more receptive of accept? Like, what advice would you give for that? Because this is definitely an issue.
mm, well, one, what I would say is, I swear,
Mm-hmm.
my mom, she crazy. Don't pay her no.
No problem. Mashallah.
First of all, oh, sorry.
Mashallah, no problem.
No, it's fine, mom. It's fine. I love my mom, inshallah. But so one thing is, this is the thing.
Mhm.
What I believe is that a lot of times what we try to do is shove things down people's throats.
Yes, this is a big problem with us too.
We want
This
to
is
shove things down people's
yes.
throats.
Mhm.
But no, two, we're not loving.
Yes, that's another big problem. You're hitting everything on the nail on the head, man. It's like,
We're not
this
loving.
is something in the Black community, like straight up, man.
I swear by my Lord,
Mhm.
any client that I have, you can ask them, they'll say, Michelle's a straight shooter, but I know she cares.
Mhm.
If people know you care,
Mhm.
they can take it. I promise. I
Mhm.
promise you. I had a guy that I know of that we used to do this like Breakfast Club thing together. I told him, I said, you want the power of a man, but not the responsibility of one.
Yes.
And his eyes teared up, but
Mhm.
he accepted it. But I'm quite sure if somebody else would have said the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
It would have been he would have been upset, angry. Why, but if you are someone who is loving, and loving doesn't mean that coddling stuff. The,
Mm-hmm.
I, I swear, women think that loving means, oh, let me give hugs, let me do this, let me do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not love.
Mm-hmm.
That's affection.
Mm-hmm.
Love is doing the hard things, being there, supportive.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
That's
yes.
love. Love is
Yeah.
action.
Mm-hmm.
You show that by what you do
Mm-hmm.
with someone.
Yes. Yes. And we definitely don't have this type of how to talk to each other,
Mhm,
right? And how to talk to each other is so important, man. There's Sister Shahrazad Ali, right? She harped on that a lot in her book, what you call it, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman, right?
mhm,
How you talk to your man is very, very, very important,
mhm,
right? Because other people groups,
mhm,
they have a code of conduct when it comes to communication with their spouses, right?
mhm,
Right. Whereas because our families are so broken,
mhm,
right, that code of conduct has to be relearned and retrained and things of this nature, right? And sometimes you need the outside eyes to tell you what you're doing wrong,
mhm,
right? So that you can fix, and you'll be more receptive to it because you're getting somebody who's completely neutral, right? To show you, okay, this is it, ABC. But you have to be willing to take that step. And people think that, well, especially black people think that if you're going to therapy, that means that there's something seriously wrong with you, and once you go into therapy, that means you're insane or crazy. There's like a stigma, right? There's like a stigma, not knowing that it can be like a transformative experience,
mhm.
right? But anyway, I'll go ahead. So I know I talk too much. Go ahead.
Oh no, no, you're fine. Because I think that I think it's also getting it's important to have male perspectives too. And that's one of the things, like even though I don't have a lot of male clients, I
Mm,
still encourage male clients to try to find as much best they can a male therapist. Because I say
mm,
I can help you with a lot of trauma and
mm.
all those kind of work through them and change your mindset and stuff like that. But I can't teach you how to be a man.
Yes, yes, yes.
I can't.
That that is a fact.
That's
That
where
is
that's where my role ends. And so I do encourage like clients that I do have that are male. I say you should get a male coach because they are
mm,
easier to find. You should get
mm,
a male coach that can coach you into being what manhood looks like for you. And
mm.
because I swear by my Lord, I don't know why women think like, oh, I can raise a man. No, you cannot.
Yeah, yeah. That is very absurd
No, you cannot.
thinking. You're not Ibn Taymiyyah's mom. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Come on.
But again, even in those times, they had communities.
Yes, exactly. They had a hella help. A
Yes.
hella help. There's no way no child. And back in those times, child couldn't be going bonkers like the children of today,
Mhm.
right? It's not possible, right? And like
And
like the, like the proverb goes, it takes a village to raise a child, and they were doing that, right? So
And we prolong our adolescent stage for so long.
that is another big problem. There's a huge epidemic of arrested development, particularly in black men, right?
Yes.
More so in black men than black women. Black women, they seem to kind of rush into adulthood,
Can I
right?
tell you why? Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
Because women, single women,
Mhm.
we have emotional incest with our sons,
Mm,
and they become our man.
mm.
We have them do nothing because we don't want them. We don't want our man to leave,
Yeah, yeah.
and we build our daughters up to be the ones to take care of us.
Yes, yes. This is a fact. This is a fact.
Or learn
Yes.
cook, clean, do all this other because you
Mhm.
got to be independent. Like we literally like raise our daughters to be
And,
independent
yes,
of a
yes.
man, and then we literally raise our men.
to be dependent
dependent
of. Yes,
on
you
black.
are. That was spot on. Spot on. Right.
So a guy
Mhm.
I know, I said, you and your mother's relationship is inappropriate.
Mhm.
I said, that's inappropriate. Why are y'all
Mhm.
talking about that?
Mhm.
Mother.
Mhm.
And they looking at me like I'm crazy.
And this is actually what you were mentioning. You said it so eloquently, and it is more the norm than any other people group. It is rampant in the black community, and this is why we have this insane arrested development with black men in the black community. Our black men will be boys in their 50s, never wore a suit, no, don't know how to tie a tie, nothing like that, right? They're still, in the jogging suits or whatnot, listening to hip hop, chasing women in their 50s.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And this is like almost an exclusively black trait. If you look at some of these channels that particularly on YouTube, particularly the hip hop channels, you'll see that some of these rappers, man, they still looking like they're living out their teenage years.
Yeah.
I saw one the other day, Smith and Wesson. Right? I don't know if you know Smith and Wesson, right? But you don't know them? No, okay. They used to be my favorite rap group back in the day in the '90s, right? So
I
I
was
would,
like a little kid in the 90s.
yeah, there you go. Right, so yeah, so I just aged myself. So, all right, so I watched them, and they're Muslim too, by the way. They took Shahada, right?
That's right.
Yeah, them and one of the guys from Helter Skelter. He's dead now. He died. He took Shahada, rahimahullah,
Hmm.
right? But
Yeah,
yeah, this whole type of the whole group is called Boot Camp Click, and a bunch of them became Muslims, right?
okay.
But anyways, if you see them, they really haven't changed much from the '90s. You get me? They haven't really developed much into their man. They're talking the same way, the same movements, the same,
Hmm.
and rappers are like that. They don't. The only rappers you see that are really developed are people like Jay-Z. Okay,
Hmm.
he really developed. People like Nas. He really developed. Right. It took him a while, but he developed. Right.
Hmm.
Right. But they kind of came into their manhood. Right. But arrested development amongst black men is epidemic, and the way that you articulated it is spot on. Right. So I'll let you have the floor again. Go ahead.
And yeah, it's
Yeah, Common is another one. Sorry, my sister said Common. Yeah, he developed into a man too. Yeah, he developed into a man. But but to see man boys, black man boys is rampant.
because the biggest problem is feelings.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't master your feelings will master you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll have a lot of people just, again, they feelings guided. They make all of their decisions based
Decisions
on
based upon their feelings.
how
Yeah.
they feel, right? And it's so funny because I say this to people all the time. Like I'll hear a guy talking, they're like, "Yeah, I'm about to go back to the crib." I'm like, "Let me guess, you live with your mom, live with your aunt, you live with who?"
Yeah.
Like, why you say that? I said, because
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you called your house a, because again, things are about mindset. I swear,
Mm-hmm.
if you pay attention to the way that people speak, you will know their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If you call your home a crib,
Mm-hmm.
you are calling yourself a
A
baby.
baby. Yep.
It's not a conscious thing. Your mind
Mm-hmm.
makes associations.
Mm-hmm.
It do, and it literally does this in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You call a crib, you a baby. So then, if you think you're a baby, you don't do anything because babies don't do anything.
Do anything. That's right.
I'll have clients say, "I can't do blah 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 blah." You absolutely can't do that, and they just look at me like when they hear that when me say that, I'm like, "You said that." Don't it sound crazy coming from somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we talk is going to be how we live.
Mm-hmm.
Is unconscious. It's always think about when you're talking. I'm like, wait, why did I say it in this way? What could it also mean?
Hmm.
Like that's important.
Yes, it is. It's very
That's what
important.
you don't
It's
hear
very
what you
important.
call their homes cribs.
How do we know what's important? Even the Prophet Muhammad says something. He alluded to that, right? When you're making dhikr, right? When you make dhikr, you say Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, Allahu Akbar 34 times. That's 100 times you're going to mention the name of Allah, right? And if you sit there and say something 100 times in a row
Hmm.
and make an effort to say it like you say sitting in the crib or whatnot, right? It's subconsciously it's going to have an effect on you because you're always going to be remembering Allah, right? And same thing with Al Fatiha. We say Al Fatiha, in every single salat. Bare minimum, Allah has protected the Muslim, you know, with this Al Fatiha because he's never going to forget it because he's always reciting it, right? If you're always making juvenile statements all the time, and your lingua franca is always in that very adolescent stage, you are going to be an adolescent as an old man, right?
Yes.
You're just an adolescent with a gray beard. That's it,
Hmm.
you know. And this is a massive problem. It's a massive problem, right? So I'll let you take the floor there, sister Michelle.
That's right. And so like it's very like so it's hard, especially if you dealing with someone who has arrested development. It's
Mm.
hard to get them to see that they need therapy, or because they feel like it's too hard, they don't do it.
That's another big problem. Oh my gosh, you're touching everything tonight. That's another big problem, right? For especially for black men. Black men have a very colossal inferiority complex.
Hmm.
It is a colossal inferiority complex. They got to go into the world, and the world is telling them that they're nothing, that they can't do anything. They go to the schools, they can't pass any grades, these dilapidated schools or whatnot.
Hmm.
They're competing with foreigners that just get here and just surpass them within weeks. That what they accomplish in weeks they can't accomplish in their entire lifetime, right? And then they got to go back home, right, to either their mother's place because they can't pay rent, or to some baby mama's place somewhere where she's paying the bill, she's paying the food, she's paying the light, she's paying everything, right? And she's telling him whether he can go or leave, right? So this causes, of course, it's going to cause a inferiority complex, and they can't accomplish anything, right? They cannot accomplish anything, and if your mind is not right, you're going to believe that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If your mind is not right, you're going to believe that. We absolutely need more therapists, and we need, actually, in my humble opinion, we need the masajid to support therapists because they know, even the imams know more than even a therapist, because the imam of the masajid, trust me when I tell you this, these poor imams, especially the black imams, oh my gosh, I feel for them. Wallahi, I feel for them. I feel so. May Allah bless them and aid them. I mean, the black
I live
imam.
in Philly, so
So okay, the black imam has to be the marriage counselor, the school principal, the fundraiser. He has to have be the class organizer, Quran school, you name it. He has to do all these jobs for a low salary, and on top of that, he has to be the local therapist. On top of that, right, and on top of that, he has to be refuted by everybody else. Right, he has to get refuted.
what if I told
May
you?
Allah bless them. I mean, man, they have like
But what if
Allah
I
aid
told
them.
you that I in Philly? I'm not gonna say I went to every massager,
Yeah.
and or am I going to put anybody on blast? But I've been
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of massages in
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia to say, hey, when I first started, I said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I need a space to do therapy. I
Mm-hmm.
just need a room. I'll pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a big deal. I'll pay for it. being in therapy in a masajid for our community because it make people feel more comfortable, blah, blah, blah. Guess how many say yes?
How many? That's crazy, man. If brothers, if you're watching this, go to your masjid and share them this video, man. Right? That's insane. You know very well the problems that we have as black folk, right? If your mental health is not right, what else really matters after that?
I had more support from an imam that's not in Philadelphia than Philadelphia.
Brothers, make sure you share this with your imams, man. They know what's going on, man. They know very well what's going on. They know our people. They know all the stuff that's happening in Philly. They know that the graveyards are filled with black bodies. They understand that. They know very well that the sisters that are having all kinds of STDs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They understand what's going on. Talk to these imams, man. Tell them, look, man, demand that, listen, you're the imam, you're not the counselor. Let a professional do this job, please. You have the space, give it to a professional, right? And support it.
I think it's egos. If you
It could be because again, even the imams, with all due respect to the imams, they need therapy too, with all due respect, and you know it's a fact, right? You know it's a fact. Just because they're imams doesn't mean that they don't have any mental issues. We know our people. We heard some of the stories from the imams directly, right? So we know very well, right, that you yourself. The stigma, the way that you're looking at therapy is the same way that every other black man is looking at therapy. Because you have that thing in your head too, that, you don't want the people to think that you're crazy and you need it. You get it? So we need to break these barriers. We need to break them, right? And black men have to be the leaders for these initiatives. If you want to change the community, be the leaders for these initiatives. Take the initiative and get these things in the masajid. Right? So I'll let you get. If anybody wants to join us, the link is in the chat. But otherwise, I'm going to let the sister get the closing words here. I'm going to read this comment. Sounds like Star Wars, like how Yoda told Anakin, "Your feelings will make you unstable, and it will take him off the path to the dark side." Exactly. I like that comment, mashallah.
we have to get our feelings in check.
We do, right? What are feelings there for? Are feelings there for, basically for you to have a an instrument to measure your conscience, or are they there for you to act on every single time you get one? You know what I mean?
So I feel like feelings are meant to give you information that you
yes, that's what it's for.
You need to work on something, that you need to do this or do. It's not meant to be like, I feel something strongly, it must be true, and then start being impulsive.
Yeah, like there are many times, for example, we get angry, right? Especially as black folk, we hear all kind of people talking wild about us, right? For no reason. We don't do nothing to anybody. We didn't do nothing to any of y'all. Y'all talking crazy about us. And then we get angry, right? At that point, when you're getting that anger, is that the time to start acting and speaking and going online and refuting for hours on a Facebook post or whatnot? Right? Is that the time to start doing that?
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
In general, I'm not going to say it because nothing is always. In general, if someone says something about you and you get angry, do you know why? Because you believe it's true also.
You see? There you go.
Which means, and then I always say, if you are embarrassed about someone knowing something about you, you should probably change that.
Yes, that's what this is there for, is to measure your basically, the way that I see emotions at that time. It's a tool to instruct you on your conscience and what to do next. What are the next steps? You understand? Why are you angry at that moment? Are you angry because you were insulted? Are you angry like how you said because what the person was saying is true, right? And you feel some sort of way about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you angry because you are powerless to do anything about it, right? Which I feel black people, when it comes to racism, this is the majority of the we are powerless. We are really powerless to do anything about the craziness people say about us, right? That's how we get angry. So we think that our power is in responding. That's not power, that's a reaction. At that time, that anger is supposed to fuel your action, right? You're supposed to get the knowledge that you need to get to battle your enemy or whatnot, or do the things you have to do to improve it. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what that anger is there for. You get me? But I'm just talking.
So just so you know, because one of they said I will go freely if I can find a Muslim therapist.
Mhm.
The, there are actually a lot of Muslim therapists
Mm,
that I've ever since decided to go on this journey of like going on other people's podcasts and stuff like that. I
mm,
have run into a lot of other Muslim therapists. Now,
mm,
skill wise, I have no idea. I've never been to the counseling session. I don't know,
mm,
but they are out there. And if you go on psychology today, if you type in Muslim therapist, the
mhm,
ones that are in your area will come up.
mm,
Um, I did go online one time, and it's like a website actually that's dedicated to Muslim therapists
mm,
that you can go on and you can find a Muslim therapist. They are
mhm.
absolutely out there.
Yes, yes, yes. And I strongly encourage black men. Of course, black women, yes, they definitely need them as well. Absolutely. As a community, we should definitely do this, right? And we should feel like we have to encourage each other to do it as well as a
Mhm,
family, right? And the stigma behind it should be basically removed completely
mhm,
because doing nothing is not going to solve your problems, right?
mhm.
Right, but the Sister Tika said maybe there should be a database. As Sister Michelle Renee said, there's a website. It's called Psychology Today, and you'll be able to find your therapist there. Right?
Yeah, if you type
Okay,
in Muslim therapist, it will come up.
so Sister Michelle, if there are any other closing arguments you want to say, or any other things that you want to touch up on that we didn't touch up on?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I just want to, drive this point home that it's very, very important to do introspection on yourself. Allah
Mhm.
subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, save yourself and your family from the fire. How
Mhm.
can you save yourself if you're not looking inward?
Mhm.
You have to. That's the only way you're going to save yourself is to look inward
Mhm.
and fix
Mhm.
the things that you need to fix to save yourself.
Yes, that's an
And
excellent
that's
point.
self and that's self-care. Even Allah told you to put you first. Okay?
Yes,
Don't feel bad when you say I'm doing self care. And they're like, oh, you're selfish. Allah told me to do this.
yes. Alhamdulillah. Excellent point. Excellent point. That's an amazing point, and I like how you drove that home with that particular ayah. It's a fact. Save yourself first, then your family. Right. And as a black person, you got problems, man. You do. Come on. You got them, right? Don't pretend like you don't. You do, okay? All right. So seek the mental health help that you need, and don't be afraid and don't be ashamed. Believe me, it will change your life. It will
Mhm.
absolutely change your life, right? Prayer, of course, prayer is good. It's something that we do, but we cannot practice Islam like Christians, like how we were in Christianity, right? We were waiting when we were Christians. We were waiting for Jesus to come and save us, right, from the sky, right? That's what we're doing, day and night. And Jesus is going to help me. Jesus is going to save me. That's what we're doing. And we wouldn't put any work, and Jesus didn't come, nor did we get help, right? Islam is not like that. As Allah orders us to pray, and He orders us to have amen. He said, amanu wa amila salihah. He said to believe, have faith, and do the righteous actions,
Mhm.
right? But Jazakallah khair. Once again, it's a big pleasure, Sister Michelle. It's a big honor to have you on. I have to have you on again, inshallah.
Yes, Allah.
Right? I'm so happy that you came on, right? And I'd like to thank all my guests who came on, and I want to thank again Sister Tika. MashaAllah, you always come through. Hayakumullah, may Allah reward you and bless you and multiply for you a millionfold. I mean. And brothers and sisters, don't let this particular live, this very important live. We're seriously encouraging you, Black family, to seek therapy, and we, the Muslims, we should be the first and foremost to take this endeavor on, especially because we're Muslims, right? We have to be proactive, not reactive, right?
Yeah.
But,
And I do come out to masjids. I will come out. I will speak. I will do all of those things because y'all are my number one priority.
Hayakumullah.
Yeah, y'all are my number one priority. So I will always make time for Muslims. I just will. And because I also have a conference that's coming up in the Poconos with Rhoda Islamic Center to talk about marriage and
Mashallah, mashallah. That's another big one, man. We got so much work to do, man. We got so much work to do. Wallahi, we got work to do.
so I'm always willing, and my specialty is trauma. So
Mashallah.
that's what I focus more on.
Jazakallah khair. All right, family. May Allah bless you, Sister Michelle Renee. May Allah bless my guest. And we'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. I'm going live tomorrow. Okay, so. Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.